Does this unique design actually curb our phone obsession, or does the e-ink display actually provide too much of a barrier to switch over? Well, I've been living with it, and the answers might surprise you. Let's start with what I genuinely liked about the minimal phone. Right off the bat, the phone has a very nice feel of quality to it. It looks like the rails might be plastic, but it doesn't have any sort of flexing or a cheap feel to it. It feels very solid in the hand. The e-ink display is great for reading. If you're someone that reads articles, books, or manga, or even long messages on your phone, then the e-ink display is going to provide a very good experience. There's little to no glare because of the matte screen, plus the e-ink actually works better with brighter light. So the more light you have, the easier it is to read. So overall, it's just a very good experience when it comes to reading. The screen also helps in keeping you off your phone for no reason, just getting hooked in. Anything with an image or a video that plays is very tough to see and not enjoyable at all, which means that endless scrolling on an app or watching non-stop videos is gonna be a no-go right off the bat with this phone. And this actually had some measurable differences when it comes to using my phone. My screen on time went down drastically. My usage went from the usual of watching videos, either YouTube Shorts, Instagram, or whatever, to basically reading, because that's the only thing that's really enjoyable on this phone. And honestly, even though I love watching these videos on YouTube and everything, this was a big win for me because I was able to get more reading done than I normally would. The next thing I noticed is that it has some slight magnetism on the back. So it's not full-on MagSafe type of magnet where it's gonna stick on there and stay on there, but it's tough enough that I was able to put it on my Anchor charger and it stayed there charging overnight, and I was able to wireless charge with it. So there is some sort of magnetism in there, even though it wasn't talked about, or at least I didn't see it, I didn't read about it. But it's just enough to kind of stick it onto a wireless charger, not really to use with accessories of the other kind like pop sockets or anything like that. Then it's the physical keyboard, which I used to love and prefer over the on-screen keyboard. And when using this one, it definitely reminded of how much I loved using the physical keyboard. But it is a bit slower, at least with me, because I'm so used to on-screen keyboard. Going back to physical slowed me down a bit. I have no doubt that I will get faster as I use it more, but that is a bit of a change. The good thing about it though, it was very comfortable to use, and I was more sure about my key presses and made way less mistakes than on-screen keyboards. Next, the weight and size of the phone is very comfortable. It's a bit short, the screen is a bit small, but it works just well enough to read and do all the things you need to do on it. And in an era where phones just keep getting bigger, this is a nice change of pace for the modern phone. The next thing is that it actually has a 3.5mm jack. And even though I didn't use it all too much because of all the Bluetooth headphones that I have, I can see myself going back to 3.5mm if I were to use this phone every day. It only has a 3000 mAh battery, which in today's standards is very small. But the fact that it has the ink display, you don't use it as much, I could easily see this lasting 2 days for most people. For me, it looks like it would last a day and a half or a day and 3/4, depending on how much I use it that day. But for the most part, I'm gonna be charging it every day either way. However, knowing that if I can't charge it one day, it's still gonna have battery for the next day is a nice plus. But of course, not even phones from the massive brands are perfect. And there are plenty of things that I didn't like about the minimal phone, and let's go over them. The first thing is that I experienced a bit of Bluetooth and Spotify issues. I couldn't quite pinpoint on which one was the actual issue, but what was happening is I was connecting it to my car, I would start driving, and then all of a sudden the music will stop playing. I looked at the phone and the music was still rolling on the phone, but no sound was coming out. So it was still connected to the car, but the car wasn't receiving any of the audio. So it was kind of weird. And nothing I did would really fix it until I actually disabled the Bluetooth and turned it back on the phone. And it wasn't that it just happened once, it actually happened most of the times that I got into the car. It was a bit frustrating. The second thing is that the autocorrect on this phone is not very good. And honestly, you could probably turn it off because typing with the keyboard is so much more accurate than on screen that you probably don't need the autocorrect. There were some times that the word was not even a rare word, it was a word that I used often, and I'm pretty sure most people would use often, and it just wouldn't recognize it. I guess it wasn't in the dictionary, and so it would change it to a different word. I would then have to go back and tap on the word in the suggestions so that I could keep it. So that was a bit annoying, and there was no need for it. So, I mean, if I were to keep on using this phone, I would just turn off the autocorrect. The next thing is that the back of the phone is a smudge magnet. I mean, doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna leave smudges. It's not like the usual fingerprint that you leave a clean fingerprint. It's more of just literally a smudge that you're leaving on there. I even went as far as to wipe it with a microfiber towel that I have, and even use the alcohol wipes, and it helped a bit, but it didn't even take it completely off. It just stayed there. It feels like they could have used a different material or some sort of coating to help with this, but it's a nightmare and it's gonna be impossible to keep clean. This next one, I kind of give them a break because it's a small company, a startup company, so I want to give a little bit of a leeway on this one, but there are a lot of software bugs. One of the bugs was that the fingerprint reader stopped working until I rebooted the phone. After that, it started working again and kept working for a while, but there were other things that had similar issues. The second one was the keyboard, but when you use the Alt for the punctuation, some of them worked and some of them didn't sometimes. And that wouldn't stop until you rebooted the phone. So I probably rebooted the phone 4 or 5 times in one weekend just because of bugs like this. And then finally, there was another bug that probably could have been considered a feature at this point, and it's that the phone restarted by itself multiple times. Now, considering that some of the bugs required the phone to restart, that's probably not a bad thing. It probably fixed a couple of those bugs that I didn't even know were present at the moment, so I guess that could be a positive too. Now let's talk about where the e-ink display shows its limits. While it's great for reading, it's not great for all smartphone tasks that we're used to. My first example of when the e-ink display was a big limiter was when I was trying to order food on an app. When I was going through the menu, the letters were clear and I was able to read what was on the menu, but the images were unrecognizable. I have no idea what the food looked like. There was definitely no color, and then even the quality of the image was so poor that you could barely tell what it is. So that's definitely one of the major limits on the e-ink. The next one being the most obvious is going to be video playback. When you play a YouTube video on this, I mean, yeah, it's going to be good enough to understand what's going on, but between the lack of quality, the lack of refresh rate, and color, it makes it really tough to see what's going on. And it feels very jumpy when you're watching it rather than just a smooth motion like you're used to on an LED screen. Then there is the lock screen clock, which always stays on and it doesn't waste any battery when it's on. The issue is that the clock does not update until you double tap to refresh the screen. So there were a couple times when I would look at the phone and I thought I had a few more minutes until my meeting or something that I had to do. Luckily, there were other clocks around me, so I would look at my computer clock or my stove clock and I was able to see that no, I didn't have extra time. So I was able to hop on and not miss the call or meeting. But that's something you definitely have to get used to. Don't rely on this for the lock screen clock. Then is the camera experience. Yeah, the camera itself is not going to be great. It's a good enough camera to be used as a utility to share something, take a picture, look at a QR code, things like that. But the process of taking that picture is pretty rough. So the way it works is that the screen refreshes by turning everything black back to white and then putting the image on. And when you're on the camera, it's constantly doing that. So it's black and white, and just keeps on nonstop. And it's kind of annoying, hard to line up your shot and do all these things, but the output is okay, but it's gonna be kind of tough using the phone. So after all that, what is my overall take on the minimal phone? This phone is great at doing what it was genuinely designed to do, getting you unstuck from your phone, but without losing any of your apps and notifications. The physical keyboard provides a great typing experience and actually makes it quite enjoyable. So it's great for messaging, and with the e-ink display is also great for reading. Plus the phone feels really well built and the battery life is surprisingly good. However, and that's a big however, this phone is going to challenge you in a few ways, and unless you're prepared to use someone else's phone or wait till you're in front of a PC to complete your tasks, it's going to be a challenge. I think there are other ways to reduce your screen on time without having to compromise with an e-ink display that you're just not ready for. Things like app timers and going to grayscale on your phone could really help, but it's still going to be too easy to switch it back, and that's where this one kicks in. Also, if you're a fast-paced person that gets frustrated when things aren't done instantly, this is going to be a problem for you. Everything you do on the smartphone is going to take a split second longer to do compared to a standard phone. All in all, I can see myself using the minimal phone on weekends or nights, basically as a device that'll help me slow down on my free time. But making it my one and only phone, I can't really see that happening, at least not with some serious struggle. This is a very niche product for a specific type of user. So what do you think? Is anyone out there looking to stay away from their smartphone badly enough to switch to an e-ink display or even a dumb phone? If so, what would be your preference in terms of the type of phone you would use to disconnect? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for future content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.